The auction hall on station Kepler 442b reeked of ozone and desperation. John wiped the grease from his hands onto his worn coveralls, the fabric still stained from this morning's repair job on the station's failing gravitational stabilizers. He hadn't planned to attend the exotic livestock auction, but Aliana had insisted. "You need something in your life besides torque wrenches and plasma conduits," she'd said, her dark eyes reflecting the bioluminescent advertisements that crawled across the station's inner hull. Aliana worked in xenobiology research, 3 decks above John's mechanical bay, and she had a habit of dragging him into situations that disrupted his carefully ordered existence. Now, standing in the back of the crowded hall, John watched wealthy collectors bid astronomical credits on creatures from across the galaxy. A Centaurian phase cat went for 200,000. A pair of Andromedan singing crystals, technically not alive, but classified as such due to their self-replicating molecular structures, sold for even more. Then they brought out Lot 47. The creature was small, perhaps the size of a Terran dog, with scales that should have shimmered like oil on water but instead appeared dull and flacking. Its wings, magnificent structures of semi-transparent membranes stretched over hollow bone frameworks optimized for low-gravity flight, hung limp against its sides. The dragon's eyes, however, burned with an intelligence that made John's breath catch. "Serpentes Draconum," the auctioneer announced, his voice amplified through the hall's acoustic enhancement system. "Genetic match confirms 98% similarity to creatures from ancient Earth mythology, found in a derelict generation ship from the 22nd century. Appears to be the result of genetic engineering combined with unknown alien DNA. Current health status, critical. Bidding starts at 500 credits." The hall fell silent. No one wanted a dying curiosity. 500, John heard himself say. Aliana's head whipped toward him. "John, what are you?" 600. A thin man in the front row raised his paddle, grinning. He wore the insignia of a black market organ dealer. John's jaw clenched. He'd seen what happened to exotic creatures in those markets. They were dissected, studied, their unique biological components sold to the highest bidder. 1,000. The organ dealer turned, sized up John's grease-stained appearance and smirked. 2,000. 5,000. John's voice was steady, though that amount represented 3 months of his salary. The smirk faded. The dealer waved his hand dismissively and sat down. "Sold to bidder 247 for 5,000 credits," the auctioneer declared, sounding surprised that anyone had paid even that much. The dragon's containment unit was a standard xenobiological transport chamber, a cube of transparent aluminum with atmospheric controls and a gravity generator. John carried it carefully through the station's corridors, Aliana walking beside him in stunned silence. "You just spent your entire savings," she finally said. "I know. On a dying dragon. I know. That you have no idea how to care for." John stopped walking and looked at her. "Then help me." Aliana stared at him for a long moment, then sighed. "You're insane. My lab now." The xenobiology research facility occupied one of the station's outer rings, where centrifugal force provided 0.7 Earth gravity. Aliana cleared her primary workstation, pushing aside Petri dishes filled with bioluminescent bacteria and holographic displays showing protein folding simulations. "Set it down here," she instructed, pulling up the dragon's auction documentation on her terminal. "Let's see what we're dealing with." The dragon lay motionless in its container, its breathing shallow. John noticed a rhythmic pattern to the rise and fall of its chest, 3 quick breaths, then a long pause, not random, mathematical. "Fascinating," Aliana murmured, her fingers dancing across holographic interfaces. "Its cellular structure is extraordinary. The DNA incorporates elements we've never seen outside of extremophile bacteria from neutron star environments. Look at this. Its scales contain layers of graphene bonded with some kind of organic polymer. In a healthy specimen, they'd be nearly indestructible. "But it's not healthy," John said quietly. "No," Aliana's expression grew grim. "It's starving, but not for food. Look at these readings. Its cells are designed to metabolize specific frequencies of electromagnetic radiation. It's a living solar panel, basically, but far more efficient. The problem is—" "The station's lighting is wrong," John finished. "We use standard LED arrays optimized for human vision. What spectrum does it need?" Aliana manipulated the holographic display, analyzing the dragon's cellular structure. Based on the photoreceptors in its scales, it needs high-intensity ultraviolet, specifically in the 280 to 315 nanometer range. UVB radiation. John was already moving toward the supply lockers. "We have UV emitters for sterilization. Will those work?" "Possibly, but John," Aliana caught his arm. "UVB radiation at the intensity this creature needs would be harmful to humans. You can't just—" "I have an idea." John pulled out his personal data pad, sketching quickly. "In my workshop, I've got shielded enclosures for working with plasma torches. If I modify one with UV-transparent panels and install the emitters inside—" Aliana watched his rough schematic take shape, then nodded slowly. "It could work, but we need to do this fast. According to these readings, its cellular degradation is accelerating. It has maybe 48 hours. John didn't sleep that night. In his workshop, surrounded by the comfortable chaos of dismantled engines and circuit boards, he worked with a precision born of decades of mechanical expertise. The plasma torch enclosure was designed to contain temperatures exceeding 5,000 degrees Celsius. Retrofitting it for a living creature required careful modification. He replaced the heat-resistant ceramic panels with quartz glass, transparent to UV radiation. The station's sterilization emitters were mounted in an array optimized for even coverage. A small atmospheric processor maintained oxygen levels and humidity, temperature controls, a soft bedding of thermal-regulating gel used in space suit manufacture. At 400 hours, Aliana arrived with the dragon. "How is it?" John asked, not looking up from the calibration sequence he was running. "Worse, but I've been researching the genetic markers. John, this creature isn't just engineered, it's designed. Someone put an enormous amount of thought into its creation. Its neural structure suggests intelligence comparable to a human child, maybe higher. And there's something else." She pulled up a holographic model of the dragon's brain. "See this cluster of neurons? It's a specialized organ we've only seen in one other species, humans. It's the biological basis for empathy, for forming social bonds. This dragon was designed to connect with people." John finally looked up from his work. "They made it to be a companion." "Yes, and then someone abandoned it on a derelict ship for who knows how long." Aliana's voice was tight with anger. "Let's fix that." Together, they carefully transferred the dragon into the modified enclosure. The moment John activated the UV emitters, something remarkable happened. The dragon's scales began to glow. It started as a faint shimmer, like heat haze, then intensified into a soft, pulsing luminescence. The creature's breathing changed, the mathematical pattern becoming faster, more energetic. Its eyes opened fully for the first time, revealing irises that shifted through a spectrum of colors as different photoreceptor layers activated. "It's working," Aliana whispered. "Look at the cellular regeneration rates. It's actually working." John knelt beside the enclosure, watching as the dragon slowly, shakily raised its head. Their eyes met. The dragon made a sound, not a roar or a screech, but something softer. A trill that resonated at a frequency that made John's chest vibrate. Then, moving with obvious effort, the creature pressed itself against the transparent wall closest to him. "Its body temperature is increasing," Aliana said, checking her instruments. The UV absorption is triggering exothermic reactions in its scales. It's generating heat. Like a heat lamp, John murmured. He placed his hand against the enclosure wall. Through the quartz he could feel the warmth. It's thanking me. No, Aliana said, her voice filled with wonder as she studied the neural activity scans. It's doing more than that. Look at the brain patterns. It's bonding with you, John. You saved its life, and its entire neurological structure is reorienting around that fact. This creature was designed to form deep, permanent emotional connections, and it's chosen you. 3 weeks later, the dragon, whom John had named Ember, much to the creature's apparent approval, indicated by a specific pattern of scale luminescence, had made a complete recovery. Its wings, now fully healed, created tiny vortexes in the workshop's recycled air when it practiced flying. The scales shimmered like liquid mercury, their graphene layers restored to full functionality. Aliana visited daily, ostensibly to monitor Ember's health, but increasingly just to watch John and the dragon interact. There was something profound about their relationship that defied easy categorization. Ember would drape itself across John's shoulders while he worked, its warmth better than any heating system. When John explained complex mechanical problems aloud, the dragon would trill in patterns that seemed almost responsive, as if it understood. You know what's interesting? Aliana said one evening, watching Ember arrange tools in order of size, a behavior it had picked up from observing John. I found records of the generation ship where Ember was discovered. It was called the Ark of Wonders, launched in 2157. The manifest listed it as carrying genetic samples and engineered organisms meant to terraform and populate a new world. What happened to it? John asked, carefully soldering a circuit board while Ember's head rested on his knee. No one knows. It disappeared from long-range scans about 300 years ago. When salvagers found it last month, the crew was long dead, but the biological storage units were still functional. Ember was the only specimen that survived. John's hand stilled. He looked down at the dragon, whose scales pulsed with soft colors, a pattern Aliana had identified as contentment. 300 years alone in the dark. Yes, Aliana knelt beside them, and in all that time its bonding instinct remained intact, waiting for someone to care. Ember lifted its head and looked at both of them. Then it did something new. It extended one wing toward Aliana, the membrane glowing softly with UV light. Is it? Aliana's voice caught. Is it trying to include me? John smiled. I think it knows that anyone I care about is family. Aliana reached out slowly, and when her fingers touched the wing membrane, Ember trilled, a sound of pure joy that resonated through the workshop, making the tools on the benches vibrate in harmonic sympathy. 6 months later, Station Kepler 442b underwent a scheduled expansion, adding new habitat modules to accommodate growing populations. John had submitted a proposal for the new section's environmental controls, suggesting the inclusion of UV spectrum lighting in designated areas. For residents with non-human biology, his proposal stated, or for those who choose to share their lives with creatures who experience the universe differently than we do. The station council approved it unanimously. In his workshop, now officially registered as a mixed-species habitat, John worked on a new project, a specialized flight chamber for Ember, with variable gravity controls and UV emitters arranged to simulate the light of different types of stars. Aliana helped with the biological calculations, her fingers intertwined with John's as they sketched designs on holographic displays. Ember flew between them, scales shimmering like a small galaxy, trilling in mathematical patterns that both of them had learned meant home. The dragon had been engineered to bond, to love, to find family among the stars. And in a grease-stained mechanic with gentle hands and a xenobiologist who believed in second chances, it had found exactly that. On a space station orbiting a distant world, three beings, too human, one decidedly not, built a life together. They were family, not by blood or species, but by the simple, profound choice to care for one another. And sometimes, in the vast, cold universe, that was the most extraordinary thing of all. And